It's a beautiful Tuesday morning right here on Channels Television, and it has started with light showers already, which means, as they say, maybe there's blessing, some sort of blessing coming today. But good morning, Nigeria. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us on today's edition of the program. I hope you'll enjoy every bit of it. If you're still in bed, well, if you don't have anything to do, then please stay in bed. But if you're not, then get ready to set out. But remember the weather when you go out. Good morning again. I'm Anne Nwawodo.
Yes, indeed. And some blessings can be put together in such a way that they do not look like blessings. So maybe that's what Gratitude Tuesday is about. Good morning and welcome to the morning brief. And if you're still in bed, well, your second alarm. So wake up and join the show. I'm Bukola Koka.
Absolutely. But don't take all of that blessing alone. Okay, if it's rain, get an umbrella so you can share the blessing with the floor. Not
Wait, blessing with the floor?
I'm just saying, don't soak in all of that blessing alone. We are your weatherman and women. So get an umbrella, get a cup of tea, something to warm you so you don't get the cold. But we're live for you here in Lagos. I'm Kayode Okikelu.
Well, good morning again, and we need to say happy married life to Davido and and Chioma. Let's start on that note. Happy married life. I saw the 30GB gang and the Wiz FC gang yesterday battling it out. But I mean, in all we do, just wish people happy celebration in anything. There's no need to fight about these things. I don't know about about you, Kayode and Bukola.
Well, I think there are bigger things to fight about in court, to debate. And I think it just speaks volumes when you see what a lot of people channel their energy into. I mean, we have a nation to build, particularly for young Nigerians. You can come for me, absolutely, but I'll tell you the truth. We have a lot of things to do. Build a nation, ensure that this is a nation that our children will be proud of. So while we can talk about entertainment, we should channel the positive energy and maybe even negative energy, channel everything into building the nation, and building a Nigerian dream, okay?
Indeed, Kayode, we have bigger fish to fry. We have an agriculture sector to develop because there's a hunger crisis that is hovering around. And, you know, tied with that is the security concern that we also need to address such that agriculture can thrive. If not, we wonder what a few years will look like in Nigeria. And I wonder if also that is, you know, top on the priority list of not just the federal government now, but also state governments. It's a huge crisis that is staring us in the face. But nevertheless, happy married life to Davido and Chef Chioma Sisi.
So now that it is raining, this rain is not a weather for whatever they call it. It's a weather for agriculture. Young Nigerians out there, you can go to the farm. You can, you know, add your creativity to farming. Look for creative ways to grow things, to market them, to store them, to package them. This rain is not just a weather for whatever it is that they call it.
Oh, well, but when you go for farming and doing whatever it is you want to do with the rain, remember the farmer header crisis also, which is already keeping a lot of people out of their farms. We're talking about the insecurity challenges in Nigeria, which will be one of our discussions today also. Bukola has talked about agriculture. I mean, there's bigger fish to fry, which means that we have bigger problems in this country. So the earlier we begin to tackle them, the better for us. All right, so I guess we go to the highlights and what we have on the show today. What do I have for you? Seriously, what do we have on the show today? All right, so on the show today, we begin with security. As we know, it's a really big challenge right here in Nigeria and, of course, in other parts of the world. But we're focusing today on insecurity in Nigeria's northwest region, and especially in the wake of the Northwest Peace Security Summit, which was held in Katsina State yesterday. We find out the challenges and the way forward for Nigeria.
Absolutely. And as we continue to keep tabs on the cholera outbreak in Nigeria, we turn our attention to Ogun State, just next door Lagos, which of course has seen a huge burden. The latest figures show that the management of the disease well, of course, needs some push. So we take a look at the efforts by the state government to curb the spread of cholera in that state. And by extension, we're asking, how is the situation in your state?
And from there, we move to River State, where the big question hangs. When will the political crisis end? We bring you updates from the latest protest by some former chairmen. What are the issues really, and possible solutions to tackling them once and for all?
Well, we heard people asking, where has Ruggedman been? He will be here to answer that question for himself on the show today as we delve into the past, the present, and what the future holds for Nigerian rapper Michael Ugochukwu Stevens, popularly known as Ruggedman.
Also known as Ruggedy Baba.
Ruggedy Baba, that's the one,
right?
You know?
Some Gen Zs might not relate. Maybe shots fired.
Baba, that one is always sticking to my head.
So keep your gunpowders dry. That will be on the show this morning. And of course, as always, you can be a part of the show by using that hashtag right there on the screen, hashtag CTV Morning Brief across social media. If you're watching on YouTube as well, you can put your comments up on YouTube Live and WhatsApp. That is the number with which you can reach all of us on the show. So send in your videos. What's the rain like in your area? Let us know. What is the situation of maybe potable water? Because that's at the heart of a cholera outbreak. And you know, the waste management. Let us know as well. So send in those videos, those comments. Let us help you amplify it to the world.
Of course, and if there are safety measures you have also been helping people take, I mean, we would like to create awareness around safety measures, making sure people don't get affected by this outbreak. If it's limiting your access to food outside or eating out, or something that you have done to make sure this doesn't get to you. If it's about yourself or people around you, then please let us know on that number that showed on your screen. We'd like to hear from you, and of course we'll be talking about that on the show today.
So,
are you ready?
Yeah,
I think we are.
Let's do this, shall we?
So we'll be right back, and we'll be right back with top stories.
Welcome once again to the Morning Brief. And of course, we have several stories that topped the list today. We'll be bringing you those stories. And we begin with security matters and what appears to be a new commitment between the federal government and the Northwest governors to tackle insecurity challenges in the Northwest region of the country. Well, the Vice President, Kashim Shettima, and the governors of the Northwest at the opening of the Northwest Peace and Security Summit in Katsina State agreed that the time has come to drop political affiliation and join hands to end the header farmer crisis, banditry, and general insecurity in the country. Well, according to him, the sum of 51 billion naira has already been approved by the federal government to fight against insecurity in Nigeria.
To build pragmatic solutions to our security compromises, we are strengthening collaborations among the services and other security agencies to ensure a unified approach. One of the non-kinetic interventions we have rolled out is the Fulaku Resettlement Initiative. We believe it is a timely solution to address some of the root causes of disputes and insecurity in the Northwest. Our choice of Sokoto, Kebbi, Katsina, Zamfara, and Kaduna states, and by including Benue and Niger State for inclusivity for the pilot phase, is strategically planned to create positive nationwide transformations. The comprehensive plan includes building residencies, roads, schools, and essential facilities, fulfilling our pledge to the nation. The President had approved, and we have secured 51 billion naira in our custody.
Meanwhile, the governor of Zamfara State, Dauda Lawal, says that the inaugural Peace and Security Summit put together by the Northwest Governors Forum and the United Nations have already, development program will help governors of the region in addressing the hydra-headed security challenges plaguing the Northwest zone. On his part, the governor of Jigawa State, Umar Namadi, believes the summit with the theme Regional Cooperation for Securing Lives and Livelihoods will actually help the governors of the Northwest region and other stakeholders in developing a template for ending decades of underdevelopment in that region. And the Kano Emirate conflict, which began on May the 23rd, 2024, after Governor Abba Yusuf reinstated Muhammadu Sanusi II under the throne Aminu Ado Bayero, has led to multiple court cases. Ado Bayero and Baba Gundi have filed suit regarding human rights jurisdiction and the removal of the dethroned emir and 4 others. The Emirates leadership remains in limbo, with increased security in the Kofar Kudu Palace and the Nasarawa Mini Palace. Our correspondent Nanchin Vincent reports that the Kano State High Court, led by Justice Amina Adamu, has adjourned the case to July the 2nd, 2024 for further hearing. And following the crisis currently rocking the local government councils in Rivers State, most of the 21 out of the 23 former chairmen have led protests in their respective councils. The former chairmen, who led a sizable number of protesters through the streets, demanded that Nigeria police continue their occupation of the various councils, among other demands. And the Federal Capital Territory Police Command has apprehended 4 suspects in connection with the murder of retired Brigadier General Umen Harold Udokwere, he made this announcement by the FCT Commissioner of Police, Bennett Igwe, during the press briefing at the command headquarters in Abuja, where the suspects were paraded alongside others arrested for various crimes. The commissioner also declared 2 additional suspects wanted in connection with that murder. He noted that the command has successfully apprehended several notorious kidnappers and their accomplices, including Isaiah Mohammed, who's an escapee from Kuje Correctional Center, and their chief informant. The Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Taurid Lagbaja, is again asking Nigerians to partner with the Nigerian Army and other security agencies in the fight against insecurity in the country through the sharing of timely and credible information. He was speaking at the roundtable in the asymmetrical national security challenges organized by the Nigerian Army Resource Center in conjunction with the Development Specs Academy in the nation's capital, Abuja. According to him, security is a society's responsibility, which cannot be left entirely in the hands of security agencies.
The position of the army to all forms of threat is that we will work in line with the constitutional provision to combat all enemies of the state and bring about the much desired peace and stability across the country. In the area of asymmetric threats, I know that it connotes different meaning to different people. And that is why the army is open to ideas, is open to opinions from all segments of the society. And that informs this roundtable discussion that has been put together by the Nigerian Army Resource Center and the Development Specs Academy, that the Army is actively supporting, and we make use of the deliberations and decisions that will come out from this roundtable discussion.
And away from security now, the Nigeria Labour Congress is advising President Bola Tinubu to consult further with stakeholders before sending an executive bill to the National Assembly for a new minimum wage. The president of the NLC, Mr. Joe Ajero, gave this advice at a meeting with officials of the Kogi State government in Abuja. According to him, such consultation will help to eliminate possible disagreement, bearing in mind that the tripartite committee did not have a consensus on what the minimum wage should actually be.
This matter is being taken to the president. When we may have, that is, dotted all I's and crossed all T's, it will be taken for him, and is expected for him or of him to reach out to the tripartite people, not just labor, the employers, people representing government, to see whether they can build a synergy outside the negotiating table to come up with a figure that should be transmitted to the National Assembly. That's our position. Because for him to adopt any of the positions, you see that the other parties will feel aggrieved. But as of today, none of such has happened.
Other health matters now. The Lagos State government has confirmed 579 suspected cases of cholera outbreak, with 29 deaths already recorded. The State Commissioner for Health, Professor Aki Abayomi, made this known during a multi-agency press conference on cholera held in Alausa, Ikeja. He says the state government will continue to intensify advocacy across the state on how to stay safe, and has also activated emergency operation centers to help curb the transmission of the disease.
We have the data that represents the total number of suspected cholera cases, and that number is 579. Out of this 579, we have unfortunately experienced 29 deaths. Most of these deaths were caused by patients presenting very late at a stage where we could not resuscitate them because they had severe dehydration, and many patients were actually brought in dead. Out of all the samples we were able to collect, we were able to identify Vibrio cholera. So this is indeed a confirmed case of a cholera outbreak by a subtype 01 that is known to us to be very contagious and to cause significant sickness in those that contract it. We started to notice cases on the 5th of June. A few cases in our government facilities. It started to rise very gradually to 14 on the 8th and 35 on the 9th. But on the 10th of June, we saw an unprecedented number of cases in our government facilities, predominantly around Lagos Island, Lekki, and Oshofe. And you know, we're very careful about adding new vaccines because there's a general global and national sensitivity around vaccines at the moment. So we have to be very sure that the introduction of an oral cholera vaccine will actually make a difference before we expose you to a new vaccine. We urge our residents to support the government's effort by adhering to hygiene practices, drink safe water, cook your food thoroughly, maintain personal hygiene and wash hands regularly, use sanitizer and avoid crowded places, report symptoms like watery diarrhea or vomiting immediately, and utilize free treatment for suspected cholera at all our government facilities.
Let's delve into the world of business. Multinational consulting firm PricewaterhouseCoopers says that it expects that Nigeria's headline inflation rate, which currently stands at 33.69%, will drop marginally to 29.5% by the end of this year. In its latest economic outlook report on Nigeria, which was released on Monday, the company affirmed that the decline will be achieved due to the impact of ongoing reforms and the policy action by the federal government. Despite the positive projection, the PwC highlighted key considerations for the government in areas of policies that could help stabilize the economy, which of course includes urgently addressing security, social pressure, points of inflation and exchange rate, mobilizing capital to drive growth through market-focused policies, as well as making short and long-term focus on sectoral exports. In sports, Bundesliga champions Bayer Leverkusen will face English Premier League runners-up Arsenal in a pre-season friendly that will happen in London on August the 7th. The match will be a reunion for several players, along with a meeting between livelihood friends and teammate Xabi Alonso and Mikel Arteta, and of course coach and Arsenal respectively. The match will take place at Arsenal Emirates Stadium. Well, that's the top stories for today, but we have stories trending also, which you have been reacting to, and I invite Buki now to talk this through with me.
Yes,
we have
indeed. Hello
lot.
again, and what Nigerians are talking about, the talking points really
Yes.
paint a grim picture about our socio-economic realities, and we just hope for quick solutions, maybe well thought out solutions, maybe not necessarily yielding quick results, but
at least
let's start from somewhere. Speaking of which, Rivers is in the news yet again, and this time 21 of the 23 local government chairmen led a protest, as you earlier heard and read. That's where we're starting off from. And the first person to comment is Toba Shagari, who says they're engaging in wild goose chase. No matter the dimension that this political crisis takes, they won't be the ones to be there. After showing political discord in various states, the federal government itself will become overwhelmed. They should look for other ventures to continue.
While Kindred says that what are they protesting? If their electoral mandates has expired, they need to step down and allow order prevail to ensure the continuation of governance.
And the next one is from Ray Jr., who says there is no justification for their protest. Their tenure has come to an end.
All right, I think we move to the next one, which is about the banditry. It'll take decades to get out of banditry, according to the Sultan, which he mentioned yesterday. This is coming from Samuel. He says that at least he is being honest with himself, and that's the truth. There are close to 5,000 different groups of bandits operating in the northern region. So the Sultan is absolutely right that when he said decades.
And that is very unsettling. By the way, the Sultan was speaking at the inaugural Northwest Security Summit.
Yes.
It shows really how cancerous, banditry and insurgency has become. And suffice it to also mention that the security agents, the Nigerian army to be precise, has recorded, some progress, by neutralizing a number of bandits in recent weeks. But despite that fact,
there's still more to be done.
Kidnapping, mass kidnappings and killings of Nigerians, some even recently in Kaduna State. But this next one is coming from Owe Israel, who says that's even if the system that enabled it in the first place is thoroughly addressed. Speaking of which, there's education, there's investment in the local economy in these states in the Northwest. You have the next one.
Agriculture going on there too. But let's move on to the Sultan of Sokoto being an institution guard, which the Vice President talked about yesterday, Kashim Shettima, at the Peace and Security Summit also. He said that the Sultan of Sokoto is an institution, guard him jealously. Those were words by the Deputy President, Kashim Shettima. And he says, this Dr. Nature and Science is saying that politics entered into a traditional ruler places. Oyo, Sokoto, Kano, Ife, Benin, and lots more are kingdoms on their own. They are institutions, bodies of elders. However, politics has already taken over for good in some way and for the detriment in demerits in another way. Anyway, nothing lasts forever.
Words pregnant there. But this next one is from Ihima Principal, who says the governor should allow peace to reign in Sokoto. He should not bastardize the traditional institution. Brief one there.
All right, Mustafa Abdullahi says that this is a clear message or warning. The caliphate existed long before the creation of Nigeria. Not even the so-called democracy. It shouldn't be messed up by these politicians.
And this one is from Adnan Abdullahi, who says the glorious Sokoto Caliphate must be guarded with utmost sanctuary. There you have it. It's the greatest empire in the entire African continent, which exists to this day. If we forget our own history, what are we? What would be the future of the upcoming generation?
Very big question there. All right, we have lots of reactions, but because of time, we cannot take them all. But thank you so much for sending in those comments, and hope you keep them coming because the show has not ended. We have loads and loads of more for you, but that's in just a moment when we return from this break. Please stay with us.
Addressing the nexus of banditry, extremism, and climate change in northwest Nigeria resonates with our experiences in Zamfara State. We are suffering from banditry and devastating effect of climate change in Zamfara State as well as other part of northern Nigeria. Your Excellencies, in Zamfara, we are implementing various initiatives to enhance security, revitalize agriculture, as well as promote sustainable livelihood. Key among these include the establishment of Security Trust Fund, establishment of state-owned task force named Community Protection Guards to combat banditry as well as other related crimes in the state and support our neighboring states in tackling this menace. We are strengthening community engagement and social cohesion to address communal conflicts. Education is a priority area, considering its vital role in addressing social, political, as well as economic challenges.
We start off with the all-important conversation of security this morning. You saw that meeting at the northwest region of the country, attended by President Bola Tinubu, who is represented by his vice, Kashim Shettima, and governors in the region. It's a UNDP facilitated event. So what is the outcome of this? On the one hand, Sultan of Sokoto saying it will take decades to actually end banditry in Nigeria. For some people, that was startling, particularly because we've been at this for over a decade anyway. But let's get into the issues and speak to people on ground. We're joined on the program this morning by the Secretary General, Renewed Kaduna Restoration Group, Mr. Yahya Shinko, joins us virtually on the morning brief. Good morning, Mr. Shinko. Welcome. Well, let me start off with this. Good morning. Right. Let me start off with a statement of Assaulted saying it will take decades to end banditry. On the flip side, we've heard the governor of Zamfara State, whom we just heard speak now, but he said it time and again that if he were to be given the powers, more powers as a governor, as a chief security officer, that banditry will end in days. So, decades, days, what is your take, Mr. Shinko? Okay, looks like the connection is frozen, but we'll get back to Mr. Shinko. He's a security analyst, really, so he has lots of perspectives on this one, particularly what's happening on ground and the time frame that has been at the heart of this conversation. Why has it taken us so long as a nation to get to the heart of banditry? It looks like the more bandits are arrested, neutralized, the more some other groups spring up and threaten the peace of the people in the Northwest. We've seen the spate of kidnappings, killings, children really at the receiving end the most, particularly students. We've seen lots of kidnappings in schools, and Kaduna has seen its fair share of the kidnappings as well. So we'll get back to Mr. Yahya Shinko, but let's listen to yet another governor speaking at that Peace and Security Summit in Northwest Nigeria, the governor of Jigawa State. Take a listen.
It is my firm belief that the event presents a great opportunities for major stakeholders to ponder and reach consensus on fostering pragmatic solutions for lasting peace and security in the region, for common approaches to the regional cooperation, and for forging effective development partnerships on moving forward with our regional agenda for peace, security, and development. Lasting peace and prosperity in this region and in Nigeria as a whole is a goal we must painstakingly aspire to achieve as leaders. There is no emphasizing the fact that the insecurity situation in this region and indeed other parts of our country has for many years caused immense human suffering at massive social and economic cost, including loss of lives and means of livelihood, as well as reversal of development efforts. Going through the agenda of the two-day event, the way it has been structured, as well as the area and caliber of speakers, moderators, and panel experts, I'm very confident that we are going to be having candid and insightful discussions on the current security situation and the development challenges bedevailing the region.
We must also engage the federal government and international organizations, the development partners, to secure the support and the funding for our initiatives. By presenting a united front, we can attract more significant investment and drive sustainable development across our region. To facilitate regional cooperation, we must establish, and we have established a Northwest Governors Forum that meets regularly to discuss our everyday challenges and coordinate our efforts. These forums serve as a platform for sharing ideas, monitoring progress, and holding each other accountable. We will also consider establishing joint task force to tackle specific issues such as banditry and food security.
So that is the thinking of the governors, the leaders in that region. You may have seen former President Muhammadu Buhari also at that meeting. So it speaks to just how important this is. And it's not the very best of mix, really. So you have insecurity in the mix. You have economic issues in the mix. Then not to talk of out-of-school children, the health situation as well, particularly in that region where Doctors Without Borders give out figures of just how much there's malnutrition in the region. So it's a mixed bag, not of good and bad, but lots of negatives, really. So it's important for those leaders to come together, put on their thinking cap, and ensure that these issues are resolved. But my challenge is, we've seen these meetings before. You know,
it's a regional approach to combating insecurity in the Northwest, and indeed the entire northern part of Nigeria has been long in coming. In fact, it's many years too late because of the implications that we're now witnessing, particularly for agriculture. Yeah. You know, there are reports, just very recent reports, that, you know, farmers in that part of the country may be losing billions of naira to ransom payments. They now have to pay, those that can even farm now have to pay to access their farms. And those that are unable to access their farms are being kidnapped or killed. We remember reports of the Zabamari farmers, I believe, who were killed, who were murdered in cold blood. These are the real issues. And then what are the you know, factors that are aiding them? There are reports that they, you know, use motorcycles to perpetrate their heinous crimes, for kidnappings, village invasions, and it speaks to the heart of the issues: underdevelopment in Nigeria's north, you know, the economy, primary health care not, you know, in the exact state that it should be. So one approach that is speaking about one subnational may not necessarily be enough, but, you know, a collaborative effort, you know, may go a long way. It may not yield result at the beginning, but perhaps it could also yield results in the long term. So this is the way to go, I believe.
Yes, I believe that too, Bukola. I mean, yesterday also at the Peace and Security Summit, the Vice President, Kashim Shettima, said that 51 billion naira will be budgeted to tackling insecurity. But then again, the question will now be, how will that money be used? I mean, in the past, we have seen monies budgeted for insecurity, tackling this, and for more than a decade, and saying again that it's going to take more decades to tackle insecurity and banditry in that region, and indeed across Nigeria. You now ask, so if this amount of money is going to insecurity, what will now go to? There are other things: the economy, agriculture, education. There's so many things. So you talk about how this money would actually be spent to ensure that results are gotten. I mean, money has been spent in the past. What are the results? We know that the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, they're all doing all they can to tackle these issues, but there's still a lot more to be done. Synergy will be an important factor to tackling this issue. It's not just working as an individual or as an organization, but working across security agencies, so that sometimes multiple jobs are not given to people to do the same thing in the same organization or in different organizations. I mean, implementing this money, how to spend it, will be a very important factor to tackling this issue, really.
Absolutely, guys. And you begin to ask yourself, is poverty a crime? Is it a crime, really? Maybe we should just officially say we're designating poverty as a crime, because most of the challenges we're facing as a nation, they actually have poor people at the receiving end. Top on that list, of course, will be insecurity. What you find out is that most of the areas that are, well, challenged by insecurity, where you have bandits on rampage, are rural areas. The farmers, the people that don't earn as much, they're not even middle class, really. And you begin to ask, is poverty a crime? You've heard about areas that don't even have a simple police post in that area, in the community. There is no security presence. They call them ungoverned spaces. But on the flip side, you have VIPs, people who have numerous security operatives following them. So you begin to ask, is poverty really a crime? And it looks like the punishment for poverty at this level is either death, kidnapping, or just uncertainty generally. You can just see the look on the faces of those people. You just can't imagine what they have had to go through in the past few years. Imagine just staying in your house and you don't know what to expect next, because you've heard that the neighboring village has been attacked, or maybe your village has been attacked, a school in your village has been attacked, children have been kidnapped, people have had to cry endlessly just to get those people back. So once again, I ask, and I think it's a question that has been asked time and again, is poverty a crime? And who is speaking for the poor people? We'll do our best.
Well, Kayode, it may not be a crime, but it just may be a very willing accomplice in I forget the German philosopher now, his fraud triangle, where you have motivation, opportunity, and the third one. So in that triangle, where you have motivation, to commit crime, you just might quickly get on board the crime if you're a poor person. There's opportunity. We talk about the locals often who are induced by the terrorists with certain amounts of money. When the authority in question does not provide security, then the people who are, by the way, poor, become willing accomplices to the terrorists who are inducing them with money. So these are real issues that must be addressed, and they can only be addressed by deliberate investment in the local economy, such that the people can become self-reliant and not become tools in what I call the fraud triangle.
Which is true also, because apart from that, investment in education plays an important role in tackling this. There's a huge gap between the poor and the rich. It's not a crime to be poor, honestly, but the gap is a lot. So education will play a key role, which means that investment in education, in budgetary terms, when the budgets, putting enough money into education and ensuring, because if they don't have things to do, they're left with temptations all around them. The youths, the children, it's really easy to tempt them into joining and being accomplices in this insecurity challenge. So we urge stakeholders, everyone who has to be involved in ensuring that education is taken seriously in Nigeria. That must also happen.
Indeed, and just to support that point, one of the big terrorist kingpins, of the past, recent past, which would be Abubakar Shekau, reports say that he was a young Almajiri as a child, and he radicalism became very easy. He was radicalized. Yeah. So there must be massive investment in education as well, such that the young children roaming the streets of the north do not become radicalized, and we have a bigger problem on our hands, which is already big, by the way, because the implications are staring us in the face, and banditry is cancerous. It has spread, to the entire parts of the Northwest, and we hope that it doesn't go further down in this, fast-moving spread.
So, let's reconnect with Mr. Yaya Shinko, Secretary General, Renewed Kaduna Restoration Group. He's also a security consultant, someone who's been in that region, understands the intricacies that play out. Mr. Shinko, thank you for joining us. It's been quite a challenge connecting with you, but thankfully we have you on phone. I'd like you to speak to the question I asked earlier on, the Sultan saying it will take decades to end this. And the governor of Zamfara earlier on saying that, well, if governors were given the powers, banditry will end in a matter of days. What's your take on this, Mr. Shinko?
Well, I think under the present system we are having in the country, it is very unfortunate that the governor doesn't have powers or control over the security agencies. Everything is centered at the federal government. The commander-in-chief has the control of the armed forces, and he decides to assign them to whatever duty at any point and at any time. And there are some challenges that if this government will be having those opportunities, I think the political terrain will still be devil with much problem more than this banditry. So as far as I'm concerned, it is a good thing that the vice president has attended that summit, and it is not a new thing. Almost everyone in the country, and in fact in the whole world, is aware of this issue of banditry happening in the northern parts of Nigeria, particularly the northwest. And for these governors to meet now, trying to bring up some points with a view to representing it maybe to the presidency, as far as I'm concerned, it's not the major problem. They will have conversed together, go and meet with the president without holding any summit, because these issues are not all. They are not new issues. It's not an evolution where we will think of fresh ideas to tackle them. Our professional members of the armed forces are there. Service chiefs are competent. They are equal to the task. So as far as I'm concerned, they will have met with the president, let the commander-in-chief meet with his security commanders and decide on how to tackle this problem. It is something that if the government wants it to end, it will end. So as far as I'm concerned, what the Sultan has said and what the governor has said, they have done their own part. But the governor, as the chief security officer, has said, is only by name. He cannot give a command to any of the security agencies, not even the police commissioner. Seeing as, for example, what has been happening in Kano State, where the governor will give directives to the commissioner of police and the commissioner of police will refuse. And when you go by the constitution of the federation, you cannot blame to the commissioner of police, because
so
the constitution is very clear.
You don't think it will take decades to end this? You think it can end as soon as possible if the powers are given the governors?
No, even if power is given to the government, it cannot end. How will we give the power to the governors? The constitution has to be amended, because anything to do with the armed in the country is under exclusive list, meaning it is a matter for the National Assembly to make law upon and to be assented by the president. So if we are to give the governors such a power, the constitution has to be amended. Then why should we wait until the constitution is amended to allow the governors now to maybe form their own security outfits in their own state, to procure weapons, to train them, and then before they can now start tackling this issue of banditry? I think the best thing is for the federal government to improve the number of the personnel we are having presently and let them have a common operation, a situation whereby they will strike at once. That is to say, by the time that they have made all their preparations, it is not for state command of the armed forces or of the police to start chasing these bandits, and by the time they started, when the other states are not doing anything, they will now leave that part of the state, go to another place, have a day until when they have seen relatives in that area, they will want to go back, then they will go. But once they will strike at once, the operation should take place maybe at the same time when it is happening in Kaduna, it is happening in Zamfara, it is happening in Katsina, Sokoto, and other parts of the country. In that way, there will be no hiding place for these bandits. But by the time the army will strike in Kaduna, these bandits will have their way to go to Kanji. They will stay there for a while. After a few days or weeks, they will now go to Zamfara, or they will have their way to Katsina and continue their activities. So I think the commanders of the armed forces, that is the Army, Navy, Air Force, and even the police, know how to handle this situation if they are given the opportunity to do it.
Mr. Shinko, I'd like to ask, because you talked about all of these agencies working together to ensure that this happens. So what is going on exactly? I mean, all of them should be working hand in hand in synergy to ensure that bandits cannot move to another state to attack when they had already done some damage in another state. Is it about intelligence report not reaching all of these people involved to tackle this issue? Or what is the major problem? Why can't there be synergy among security agencies so that they can work together?
I think lack of synergy is one out of many problems. Because even if there is synergy, but the personnel are not sufficient in number, it is something different again. And as far as the way we are seeing, the federal government is ready to finance, and it has been financing this issue. But at the end of the day, it is not yielding much of the result we are expecting, because the personnel on the ground are not sufficient to curtail these activities of the bandits. You can see they are improving their own number equally. Most of the time, we have just had last week that it has been cited, based on intelligence report, that some of these bandits have been cited coming from some of the neighboring countries trying to make their route to the part of Kanji in Niger State. And with this information, if there is sufficient number of personnel without the armed forces commandeering their personnel maybe to say, let me go to Abia State, from that level we have some number of personnel, let us pick them to bring them here. And by the time you lifted your personnel from Abia to Kanji, or to block the entrance of these bandits from the neighboring country, then you have allowed those in the southeast who are also involved in some activities that are inimical to the peace of the country to continue their activities, knowing that the personnel that have been holding the ground on that place have been lifted to somewhere else. So there is the need to improve the number of the personnel, and I can see just recently about 5,000 personnel from the Nigerian Army Depot have just passed out, and they are to be engaged on these activities. So that apart, we should also remember, in the first place, this banditry activities were supposed to have been tackled or handled by the police. The military were only called upon to assist the civil authority. And I'm sure it's because of the superiority of power in the firearms they are having, while the Nigerian police, their own arms are very limited. They cannot face those bandits. So by that implication, the military were called upon to do it. But even at that, the weapons the military are handling, the fire power of those weapons is not equal to that which these bandits are having. You will see a bandit having GPMG or holding rocket propeller grenade, while our military are holding only AK-47.
Well, we've had the military time and again saying at least there have been purchases of those platforms and equipment, but obviously more can be done. We'd like to thank you so much. Glad we were able to have this conversation. Mr. Yashinko, Security Consultant, Secretary General, Renewed Kaduna Restoration Group. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Well, we'll take a moment. When we return, we'll turn our attention to yet another thing we're combating as a nation. It's cholera. We're not done just yet. So stay with us.
Welcome back to the program. And as we continue to keep tabs on the cholera outbreak, what is this, the management approach of this next public health emergency? We turn our attention now to Ogun State. And joining us for this conversation is the Commissioner for Health in Ogun State, Dr. Tomi Coker. Dr. Coker, good morning and welcome to the Morning Brief on Channels Television. It's good to have you, ma.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
So what we're hearing from Ogun State is that there are 25 cases and 1 death confirmed so far. So bring us up to speed with efforts, to manage this, particularly in all the local government areas in Ogun State. And it might even be, worthwhile to also know if you've been able to trace the index case and, how it also spread to Ogun State, for starters.
Thank you. As you know, during the rainy seasons, there's usually a cholera outbreak. But on the 12th of June, Lagos declared an outbreak, and we actually had 8 patients diagnosed from Lagos, 6 of which had tiger nut milk in Lagos. So the first 8 cases that we had in Ogun State were imported from Lagos. This is not surprising, given that we share 4 borders with Lagos, particularly Ota. The first 6 cases were from Ota. And you have Obafemi Owode, you have Ifo and Shagam. And we've had cases there. But Ogun State itself has vulnerable local governments, such as Ijebu North, particularly a community called Okeago, where we had an outbreak last year. And not surprisingly, we've had another outbreak this year. So of our 20 local governments, we have 7 where we've had outbreaks. Unfortunately, we had a death in Ijebu North, and it was a lady, a 62-year-old lady, who was taking care of her sick son and contracted it from him and lost her life, unfortunately. However, we've stepped up surveillance. We have disease surveillance notification officers in all our 20 LGAs, combing private hospitals, particularly because we've realized that 70% of the cholera cases are presenting to private facilities, despite all the awareness creation that we've done, that people should present to government facilities where adequate provision has been made by the government and NCDC for free treatment. And the adherence to the treatment protocol is better at our public facilities. We continue to escalate surveillance, particularly in the vulnerable LGAs that border Lagos and are vulnerable LGAs too. And we have, since the schools came back last week, school educators, they've been educating our children, and we've been screening our school vendors to ensure that they're disease-free, because a congregation where you have a large congregation of people are vulnerable points, and we're making sure that we're covering that. We've educated and created awareness, sensitized our private practitioners that when they see cases of cholera, they must report, and our ambulance service work 24 hours to evacuate those cases into our government facilities.
All right, Dr. Cook, I mean, we talk about people when they have diseases like this that easily people can get. What is the next step after the death of the person? Have the family members been traced to ensure, because this can actually be gotten by other people in the house through feces and other means? I mean, for the person who died, what has the government done in terms of tracing those around that person and maybe family members or friends that have come in contact with such individual?
So you're absolutely right. For every case, not just the people that have died, for every case, we ensure contact tracing, just like we had during the COVID outbreak. So we go into their friends and family and screen them, educate them. And also, when the dead person has, the government actually buries them. Because there's a protocol, there's a burial protocol for people who die of public diseases of public concern. So we take over the burial processes. We've been working closely with our environment colleagues who have been going into homes, ensuring sanitations, and homes that have been given notice to build toilets and have failed to, they've actually been prosecuted. And we've been visiting sachet water manufacturers as well, because we realized last year that some of our sachet water manufacturers were the focus point for us in Ogun State. So the Environment Ministry has been visiting the sachet water industry and testing their waters to ensure that they are coliform free, and coliforms are bacteria that are found in feces. So when they're found in water, we know that there's some form of contamination. The main menace is actually the open defecation, that a practice of our people, and also indiscriminate disposal of waste. And we're appealing to the public to work with us to keep them safe by ensuring that they dispose their waste appropriately, and that they desist from defecating in the open. We have constructed over 100 public toilets across Ogun State to try and provide sanitary facilities for people to limit this. The concern is we're really just going into the rainy season, and floods will be happening. Open defecation is all the feces from the open defecation might be swept into water source like wells, shallow wells, and these wells must be treated. We have chlorine tablets available for people to treat their wells. And if individuals want the Environment Ministry to come around to test their waters to ensure their safety, they are available to do that as well. And we continue to sensitize around our schools and our children and the public particularly. It's a disease carried by water and food. And so people must wash their hands before reaching out for their mouth. And cooking environments must be kept clean, personal hygiene, and ensure you boil your water. And if you can't, a drop of tiny chlorine in your water left for 30 minutes will do you a lot of good. Thank you.
Dr. Coker, I'm glad you touched on open defecation, and I'd like us to look at, just this route, Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. Ogun State is just next door. I wonder if there's any collaborative efforts between Lagos and Ogun State to managing open defecation on this route, which is a real challenge. You see it not just in Kara here, but along the expressway. Talk about Ibafu, Wawa, Mowe, all of those markets there. You also say that the state government has constructed toilets, but there's very little evidence to show that, in fact, that kind of infrastructure is being provided to stem the tide in continuous open defecation along this route. And who knows, perhaps the spread into Ogun State of the cholera outbreak that you're currently managing, is as a result of this kind of activity. So I'd like you to speak to that, Dr. Coker.
Ogun State and Lagos work in collaboration. We actually signed about 2 years ago. There was an agreement that Ogun State and Lagos are going to work together on in many sectors. So that's ongoing. There's also the law that applies to all public facilities like petrol stations, restaurants, that they must make their toilets available for the public. So those are the things that are being done. If all petrol stations make their toilets available, Para in particular, as you mentioned, the express, Lagos-Ibadan motorway, Kara is being addressed by Ogun State and Lagos State jointly to make sure that they have toilets. And there's a lot of people who are displaced from different states that live under that bridge, that we are actually making all efforts to provide sanitary facilities for them, to help them, because they haven't made provision for those facilities. So it's up to the government to provide that. And we have been working on that. The Ministry of Environment has been working assiduously on that to make sure that hopefully one day we can actually make Ogun State open defecation free. Ikenne local government last year in Ogun State was actually declared open defecation free and given a certificate.
So how soon?
That's the step.
How soon will we begin to see a change on this route with the deliberate construction of public toilets to check open defecation?
I think Rome wasn't built in one day, and it's a two-pronged approach. The government will do this, and the public also must engage with us and use those facilities. Many a times you see the facilities are there, but the people don't use them. So we, with the help of the media, I think we need to educate the public that this practice carries a lot of danger to the entire population, and we must all desist from it.
Dr. Coker, we also talk about children. Are there special programs to ensure that these kids also know when they go to school, they know not to touch things or wash their hands? Are there special programs designed for kids? I mean, I understand that adults understanding all of what cholera is about, but the children, the kids have to understand that aspect specially. So is the government doing anything in that regard?
We've done a lot of work in that aspect, particularly Ministry of Education, as I mentioned in my introduction. The health educators, which are nurses that are placed in schools at the assembly every morning, educate our children on the importance of personal hygiene, particularly hand hygiene. And we, as the Ministry of Health, we actually screen food vendors and make sure that they're disease-free and give them certificates. At the moment, we have inspectors out on the field inspecting food vendors in our schools, making sure that they have been certified disease-free. And those that are not, they're actually prosecuted for serving food around our schools.
It appears that we have, a connection challenge through to Dr. Coker, but that's also a very critical question. And, education and sensitization, not just for children, but also, for everyone across board, particularly in public places, how to treat, how to manage rather, preventive care now, how to manage the disease, and the supply of potable water is also very critical, which we're hoping that she'll speak to as well, such that, market women, meat sellers, they can better protect themselves, and, check the spread, the continuing spread of cholera. But, what we know so far is that there are 25 cases in Ogun State, affecting about 8 local government areas, and there's 1 death. But Dr. Coker says that they've stepped up surveillance in all of the local government areas. And in fact, she spoke to preparedness to the levels such that they have, ambulances ready, to ferry people who are affected to healthcare centers.
And also, people have the responsibility also. We heard the doctor yesterday talking about knowing the closest PHC to get to if you ever come across with those symptoms, or if you have people around you who have those symptoms. The earlier you get to a healthcare facility, the better. So we also have to be responsible for ourselves, be accountable for ourselves, and also the children. Well,
and Ogun State is also, one of the flood-prone states, and from our conversation last week, we're not even in the peak yet.
We're not.
July will be upon us very soon, and that is the peak of the rainy season. So we have to also step up preventive care ahead of that time, such that we protect ourselves against this cholera epidemic. But let's thank Dr. Coker for her time. Dr. Coker, who spoke to us, is the Commissioner for Health in Ogun State. Thank you very much. Up next, we turn our attention to Rivers politics as we try to understand the agitation of the 21 local government chairmen who protested, former local government chairmen who protested, and, if perhaps we'll find an enduring solution to the political crisis in that state anytime soon rather than later. So join us for that conversation. We'll be right back.
perhaps as the name implies, Rivers State has had an unending flow of political drama, impasse. You could call it whatever you want to call it. And this political situation is one that has touched literally all of the realms of the estate, spilled over into the civic space. Started at the executive, moved to the state assembly, they went to the courts, from the courts they went to the local government, and now it is on the street. Yesterday we saw protests in Rivers State. What was the protest about? What is the way forward? The political actors, at what point is the breaking point, really, that they'll say, you know what, let's all come together and bury our differences, give and take? Well, let's find out this morning as we're joined on the program by a two-time member of the River State House of Assembly, MOA constituency from 2011 to 2019, Mr. Samuel Oge, as well as Mr. Tamano Sisigo-Gojaja, former leader of River State House of Assembly. Both gentlemen join us via Zoom on the program. Gentlemen, you're welcome to the Morning Brief. Let me begin with you.
Good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen. Let me begin with Mr. Gojaja, because the occupation of the council secretariat has been a major point now, like the next chapter in all of this political impasse. Well, the caretaker chairmen have been asked to work from anywhere, so they can either work from home or work from any public facility. But let me get your thinking. Is there an overwhelming consensus, at least on the part of the River State government, for the police to vacate the council secretariat so the caretaker chairman can work from there? Is that the demand now?
Our River State government is not demanding for the vacation of the Nigeria Police Force from the council secretariat. When they were sworn in, the governor directed that they can work from anywhere. That doesn't mean that they were working or they are working from home. In every local government area, we have what they call district offices. There are councils that have about 6-7 district offices. So they can operate from any of the district offices. We're not demanding that the council, the Nigeria Police Force vacate the council secretariats, because you are aware and people rumored that there were attempts to loot the council or there were attempts to foment problems. And therefore, it is in the best interest of the public for them to restore sanity there. Because there are people who are truly organizing themselves to fight the Nigerian state. And that I mean, if your tenure has expired and you're refusing to vacate the office, it's treasonable. So the Nigeria Police Force is maintaining sanity there.
Right.
The River State government hasn't demanded that they vacate the council secretariat.
Right, so you, the government is saying continue occupying to keep the peace. So maybe we're onto something here, gentlemen. So let me ask Mr. Oge, perhaps this is one thing that both parties agree on. Do you also agree that the police should keep occupying those local council secretariats? We saw Nolgate, TUC and the rest saying they were going to protest, even though they shelved it. They were against the occupation. But we saw the former chairman protesting in support of the police. So on the other side, are you also in support of the occupation by the police?
Yeah, good morning once again. Good morning, my dear friend, Tamno Sisi. Yes, like Tamno Sisi said, every person, every responsible and reasonable person will not want to opt for a crisis situation. Yes, we all are aware and saw what happened on the day the caretaker committee were sworn in. Most of them, on almost all the councils, went to different councils with armed men and dogs and all of that. Some accused the chairman of trying to stay beyond their tenure and all of that. They went there violently. So they went to the councils violently. They took over the councils. And the police came in. And like you're aware, the primary responsibility of the police is to enforce law and order. Now, police came in to say, look, we don't want any breakdown of law, and every person should stay clear of the councils until we have a lawful directive to allow anybody into the councils. But we saw that.
Mute. Okay, please go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, you can go ahead now.
Yeah, we read from the media houses where the Norgay DUC were threatening that will to go to the council, to take over the councils and all of that. And of course, that's a threat, and every person got concerned. If the police has come to take over the council to maintain peace, it's expected that every person should follow or respect that instructions. So when the Norgay and TUC under the guise of union said they want to go to the council to take over all their protests, everybody wonder why they should take that line. Of course, we are not surprised because we know where they are coming from. So to answer your question very briefly, we are very comfortable with the presence of the
where are
police.
they coming from? You said you know where they are coming from. Where are they coming from? Or where do you think they are coming from?
They are coming from, because these are people...
Sorry, I didn't get that part, Mr. Oge. We lost your audio. Where do you think they are coming from?
Can I say this?
No, I didn't get the earlier part of your statement. Where do you think they are coming from? We lost that audio at that point.
They are coming from the state government. They are coming from the state government. I say so because they are supposedly they are unionists and should have been neutral in any political crisis. But we saw a set of union members that decided to be more politician than politicians. And they set nations into the purported caretaker list. In all the 23 LGS, you will find a member of Norgay. You also find, out of the 7-man committee, you find 2 persons from each of these unions, the TUC, whatever they are called, and the Norgay. So they become part of the problem. So they are now coming there to protect their own interest. The interest, the state government is using the union now as a camouflage, while in the real sense of it, it is the state government that is sponsoring that protest. That's why I said we know where they are coming from.
But sir, the same accusation could also be, pointed towards the 21 council chairman of being also loyal to another faction in this ongoing political crisis. But let's manage our time and, let the conversation be as even as possible. Let me come to Mr. Tamuno Sisi for what seems to be the governor's position amid this ongoing crisis. The governor says to the newly inaugurated caretaker committee chairpersons that they can operate from anywhere. That's in the light of the barricade of security operatives in all those local government areas. But has that taken fully into consideration the operations of local council secretariats in Rivers State? That means that, the workers cannot access their offices. Can the workers also be fully operational, productive with the secretariats shut?
I address some issues raised by my friend and brother. First is he knows that it has been a convention in this state, right from the time of Sir Dr. Peter Odele, on the issues of appointments of caretaker committee. It transcended up to the last administration. When we appoint caretaker committees, there are considerations that are made. First, you consider civil societies or labor unions. You have a representative. You have a representative of other political parties. And you have a representative of non-indigenous communities in those localities. These are consideration. And having established that, let me also point out again that when the governor said you can work from anywhere, he is directly referring to district offices. But let's come to some issues. The first is that when the Nigerian Police Force took over the local government headquarters, don't forget that you have civil servants who need to access their offices. These civil servants were the ones who demanded that, look, even if you do not allow the political players, let us access our offices. That is a legal demand. Now, two, when the former council chairmen constitute themselves as watchdogs, are they the ones who need to enforce the directives of the IG? Do they have any case in the courts? There are some issues we need to raise. They said until further directive or until court decides. The point at the matter in the Supreme Court between the Attorney General of the Federation and the state government Now, how does that concern them? Now, again, you move on to the matter in the appeal court. The council chairmen are not part of the cases in the appeal court. They are not part of it. So when your tenure expires, it is expected that you should vacate office. You're not the one to enforce orders. You're not the one to disrespect orders. I read your headline this morning. It said ex-LG bosses defy police orders. It is disobedience. And let me quickly draw your attention to a dangerous precedent. In politics, there is always a precedent. Let me ask this question. Peradventure, the tenure of the local government councils in Kano expires today, and the council chairman said they are not vacating office. Peradventure, the tenure of the local government council chairman in Lagos expires today, and those council chairmen said they are not vacating office. Are you not in attempt in fighting the government of the Federation? Now, if this precedent is set, I can assure you that in the next few weeks, by the time other council chairmen are due to leave office in other states, the same thing will repeat. And therefore, I think that the federal government and the Nigerian Police Force should take urgent steps to leave this on the board so that this set of people do not truncate democracy in Nigeria. And therefore, answering your question, the governor is interested. He is the one who is the chief security officer. He is the one who maintains peace. Have you imagined the situation where the serving caretaker committee chairman mobilize their supporters to go and protest as well? The governor has said to everybody, go about your normal duty. It is my responsibility to secure the state, and that is doing very, very well.
Let me ask Mr. Oge this question. I mean, for every problem, there's a root cause. So let's begin from the root. The political crisis in Rivers State started with the fallout between the predecessor of Rivers State, that's Nyesom Wike, and the current governor, Siminalayi Fubara. Now you'd ask the question, does this not underscore the importance of a smooth transition of power? Because they say when two elephants fight, the grass suffers it. So this started from the top, really. In talking about smooth transition, what should actually be the important thing for governors, for presidents, for people who take positions when they hand over power to another individual?
Yes, thank you, my dear. I do not want us to, I would not want to be dragged into what I cannot establish with respect to the political disagreement between the former governor Nyesom Wike and his successor Siminalayi. I would like to concentrate on what I know and what is happening, because nobody has come out, neither the former governor nor the current governor has come out to tell the Nigerian people what the disagreement is. So I don't want to dwell on conjectures, but to concentrate on what we are discussing here. My brother, Dr. Jaja, I'm happy he was a former leader of the House, leader of government business. And I also know he's well acquainted with the workings of the legislature. I also know he's well abreast with most of the laws made when he was the leader of the House. And if he is aware of all of this, he did not come to the general public here to tell the public that since the days of Dr. Odili, that there have been caretaker. Yes, there may have been caretaker committees, but the function under laws, there were laws establishing them. What I require Dr. Jaja to say here is to tell the Nigerian populace, look, is there any law in Rivers State as of today that allows for caretaker committee in all the LGAs? That is the first question I would have loved Dr. Jaja to answer. Is there any law? Like I said earlier on, previous administration would have set up caretakers. This is governed by existing law as at then. Now, this question that my brother evaded, in the present situation, is there any law that allows caretaker committee to be put in place? And of course, I'll give the answer right away. There is no such law. There is no law. You recall, my dear sister, that in 2023, the Rivers State House of Assembly amended the local government law. And in every amendment process, Dr. Jaja knows this, there is usually a mischief. The new law intends to cure. Now, what the amendment intended to cure, the 2023 amendment intended to cure, the mischief intended was the removal, abrogation of caretaker system. This law was passed and sent to the governor for his assent. The governor made some input and came back to the assembly. Again, there was another amendment in 2024. In that amendment, the lawmakers confirmed their position of removing or abolishing the caretaker situation,
right,
which is contrary to the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
So, Mr. Okay, so we can have a robust conversation. Right. So we can have a robust conversation. You've put a question across to him. Yes, you've put a question across to him. Because of time, let's have him respond to that question so we can have this robust. So, Mr. Jaja, over to you now. He's asked the question. He's answered part of it, but what's your response?
All right. Thank you very much. I commend him that he recognizes that the fact that I should be conversant with the workings of the legislature, having led the House at one point in time. And I will answer straight. Yes, there is a law that provided for the constitution of caretaker committee. Maybe my brother is not embraced with developments in the state. Yes, I said to him that when I was leader in the Rivers State House of Assembly, in consideration of the fact that you may not conduct the election as and when we make provisions for caretaker committee. That law was used by Sir Dr. Peter Odili, the same law was used by Amechi, and the same law was used by the last administration of Governor Wike. Now, a few months ago, the House, later part of this year, 3-4 months ago, they amended a section of the law to say that peradventure you're unable to conduct election. The caretaker, the present council chairman or the sitting chairman should run for a period of 6 months. Now, let's even concede. No law is done retrospectively in any democracy. Assuming, agreeing that you amended the law, there was no contention. It is not in the position of the present crop of council chairmen who just left office to benefit from the law. That is aside. Right. But when they amended that section of the law, the local government law of River State, it was tested in the court. I am sure that my brother is aware that Justice Q struck out that amendment from the local government law because it runs contrary from part 2 of the same law, which said the opening word in that section says the tenure of local government councils in River State shall be 3 years.
Well, Mr.
Now they went down.
You seem to have answered that question which he put out to you, and I think that's been a major bone of contention. Well, some of these issues are in court, understandably, so we'll definitely not be getting into that. But we'd like to thank you so much. We'll see what today holds for the people of River State. We've been speaking with Mr. Terminus Isigugojaja, former leader, River State House of Assembly, as well as Mr. Samuel Oge, two-time member, River State House of Assembly, MOA constituency. Gentlemen, thank you for your time. It's good to see that both of you agree at least on one fact, the occupation of the State Assembly. So that's some improvement. Hopefully, we'll capitalize on that. And that's been the conversation on River State. It's going to be a big day, so stay with Channels Television for all of the breaking news from there. But we'll go on a break now, and when we return, Ruggedman Baba, yeah, you know him, joins us on the show. You don't want to miss this. Stay with us.
Welcome back. This is the Morning Brief, and you know we never end this show without talking about the entertainment side of things. And we have a big fish, as they call, in the house today. Well, a lot of people are asking, where has Ruggedman been? We do not know, but he's here live to talk about where he has been, what he's doing presently, and of course what the future holds for him. Michael Ugochukwu Stevens, Ruggedman Baba, it's good to have you in the studio.
Good morning. It's good to be here.
Good morning.
Good to have you. We call you Ruggedman Baba, but it's actually Ruggedman.
Ruggedman, but I mean, it's just smoother to call Ruggedman Baba.
Yeah, it's actually the title of my third album, right, which kind of like just became like, but you know how Lagos is. If your name is Shegun, it's Shege Baba. If it's Kemi, Kemo Mama.
Otu Baba.
Otu Baba. So,
and Mama.
And Mama. But anyway, so let's answer that question. What have you been up to?
A lot. I've been up to a lot, actually. Yes, I know that at some point I kind of like slowed down on music, you know, but...
Was there a reason for that?
If I say it, you probably laugh, though. I got a bit bored.
Oh, wow.
I got a bit bored at some point. See the look on your face? I got a bit bored at some point, but that was just before the industry took a turn for the better. You understand? I got a bit bored. There was so much piracy going on and all. You weren't really getting what you were supposed to be getting, you know, as a creative. So I got a bit bored, actually, and then I won't say I switched, but I started doing more movies. I haven't done a lot, but at least I'm happy to have some major movies on Netflix and on Prime. And yes, of course, anybody that knows me knows I've been doing a lot of humanitarian work. I kind of focused on that for some time. So I did that. I've been doing that for like 10, 11 years now, you know, and finally registered my NGO, though I haven't kicked off anything on it yet, but I've just been doing everything I've been doing, to the extent that I started a radio show that's been on for like 3 years now. It's called Waiting Day with Ruggedman. Basically, it's I call it the only democratic radio show there is, don't mind me, because I say it's a show for the people, of the people, and by the people, because it's basically about, I see a lot of Nigerians out there who have issues, but they don't know where to go to, who to go to, or how to go about anything. And you know, we've seen sad cases where just a phone call or the right words being said would have saved somebody jail time. You understand? But they end up in jail. So what I do is, during the show, we call out numbers. You know, the show is about people calling in, or I always say, either you call in as you're listening, or if you know somebody who has certain issues, just give them these numbers. So what I do is connect the people to proper police, to lawyers who can take up their cases pro bono, if they need human rights organizations and all of that. That's what I've been doing a lot of for the past 10, 11 years now.
And that's cool, Ruggedman. Thank you for using your star power, to deploy to humanitarian work and helping people. But if we followed your trajectory, excellent rapper, you have a clothing line.
Yes,
I believe. Is it still
COVID
active?
put that on hold, but I'm working on bringing it back now.
Add that to your activism, to all of that. And then you added skit making. You've talked about your movies as well. Yeah. It's as if there's a certain restlessness to you. But
I'm even about to start producing a TV series.
What's the end game? Tell us.
Well, there's really no end game. As far as I'm concerned, if you're a creative, it cannot end.
Or you're looking to which would make you your first $1 million?
If you've not made it.
No, I'm looking at just creating more stuff, creating more, extending the legacy or increasing the legacy. You understand? Like you rightfully said, movies, music, fashion, music, movies, fashion, activism, radio. Mm-hmm. Yeah, actually, I think I almost practically started podcasting, and mine was even on TV. At some point, I was syndicating it to 3 different TV stations and all, but I was funding everything myself, so I had to choose one between radio and TV. So I picked radio, and it's live on radio. So I love what I do. I love what I do, and this.
And this speaks to it, right?
Okay, basically, the new EP is called the Michael Stevens Experiment. And that's why you see me, if you can see what I'm holding, there's rap there's R&B, there's Fuji, Juju, Zanku. So basically, what this is showing is a mad professor, mixing stuff. Because it's called the Michael Stevens Experiment because I'm experimenting with different genres of music. I'm known for rap, but if you listen to this EP, there's rap, there's Afro beats, there's Amapiano, and then the one that's shocking a lot of people right now, the 4th track on this EP is called Found Love. I didn't rap, I sang.
Ruggedman sang.
Not only, see, let me make it worse. Not only did I sing, it's a love song.
So it was
gangster
slow.
fell in love.
Yes.
Very unusual.
Every gangster falls in love. Don't worry. Behind every hard man is a woman that's pulling his ear and has that kind of thing. Yeah. So.
And I think this just talks about what you've also been up to, really, just experimenting, doing different things. It's not radio, it's movies, it's here and there. And I see some names on this. I see Wizkid, I see Burna Boy, Davido, Buju. You had to put all of those names there so they don't come for you, obviously.
No.
There's even Portable there.
Yeah,
Portable.
No, but see, what I'm trying to say is like an equation. It's like, okay, Portable's done this, Burna Boy's done this, Wizkid, Davido. As an old cat, I'm like, okay, let's see how we can mix all this, take a bit of sample here and there, just mix it up. That's the experiment.
So how do you view yourself, place yourself, or how are you viewed, different angles, in the music journey of Nigeria, really? Do you see yourself as the OG that paved the way? That has been a bit controversial. You've called yourself an old cat, so I think that has been a stance.
Yeah, of course, I've been around for a long time, yeah.
So how do you view yourself in all of this equation, or how are you viewed generally?
Well, I'm viewed as someone who's been in the industry, who's been there, done that, really, because you can't talk about Nigerian music, especially rap, without mentioning Ruggedman. What I did when I came into the industry, nobody has ever done again, and I don't think anybody will ever be able to do, to come out and go against the powers that be. That's what I did with And that was not only suicidal, like a friend of mine said, it actually changed the trajectory of the Nigerian music industry. So I was called the industry watchdog. I've been told that I revolutionized the Nigerian music industry. You don't hear that being said about a lot of artists. In fact, no artists really, because nobody did what I did. Because that single move I made made a lot of Nigerian artists sit up, stop copying, stop trying to be what they're not. If you remember in Ruggedman, the song, there's a line there that I said, the only thing we're going to make them know where your music comes from in the long run is the fusion of grammar, your slang, and your mother tongue. That was in 2006. And every song from that time till date that has been a hit out of Niger has been a song that has either Igbo, Yoruba, you understand? So I kind of like brought it to the mainstream that we need to put a face to Nigerian music. South Africans had Kwaito, Ghanaians had Hip Life. What did we have apart from Juju, Fuji? But I was talking about contemporary music, that's rap, R&B. We really didn't have a face for it.
So let's talk about Afropop, or what they call it now.
You talked about Afrobeats with an S.
You talked about grammar, bringing grammar, but sometimes you're listening to some of these songs and it's just beats and talking about the same thing that revolves around women, drugs. It's the same kind of thing. Why is it? Did the things you guys sang those days, is it not resonating in today's artists?
Unfortunately, this is a generation of cruise. That's what they call it. So to them,
so cruise is selling.
They just, oh yeah, cruise is selling, you know, but they just want to cruise. I call them the whatever generation, because most times you're trying to tell them stuff seriously. The last thing you hear is whatever, Jerry. And they just go back to whatever they were doing, really. You know, so you can't, I don't blame them too much, but at least I'm happy for people like myself, the Tubaba, the Blackface, the African China, the Sunny Ages, the people who have evergreen songs. But what they don't know that they're going to miss out on is the fact that, you know, and which is what is sad for me, we're not going to have too many evergreen songs from this generation. Because even right now, most of the new songs don't last. The lifespan is not more than 3, 4, 5 months.
Say that again. We're not going to have what?
Too many evergreen songs
from this
generation.
Wow.
But I wonder if that has got a lot to do with the fact that there is very little inspiration from the OG, you know, little guidance as well. We've had cause to talk a lot about what's happening to rap on this set, and a lot of the OGs are missing in action. There are only a very few who are still holding the fort. Would you take responsibility to an extent for that?
Nope. Who guided me? Who guided me? Who told me what to do? Nobody. But what I did was watch the people who were there before me. Yes, a lot of people inspired me. Yes, a lot of people paved the way for me. Anybody who says nobody paved the way for you, you're probably getting it wrong, because paving the way for you doesn't mean they're paying for your studio session or telling you what to do. You know, paving the way for you means they've done it, they've actually started a conversation about a certain thing, they've gotten your attention. Oh, this guy can do, oh, I heard he's King Sonny Adi Jam. Oh, nice, I think I can do something like that. That is paving the way. It's not just about giving you money to book a session or shooting a video for you. No. You know, as long as, like, there was this example somebody made online, that the first person who walked up to a bush and started stomping on it and created a road and passed, made it easier for the next person that was walking to be able to walk without having to stomp on any bush. So yeah, you might not say he's paved the way for you, but he just made something a bit easier for you. So that's just it. So you are who you are. You are what you do. You understand? Nobody told me do this kind of music. I chose to do that. If they choose to cruise and talk about just women and drugs and sex, that's their problem, really. Because last, all of us will leave this earth by ourselves on our own. You understand? You know, so no, I don't take the blame for what they do, because I didn't. Yes, I did. I have some songs talking women, you know, but I didn't focus on that. So why are they not looking at the OGs and trying to emulate some of the things, some of the positive things? Why is it just the drugs and the women?
You know, it's quite interesting how we've come to this point from where we were coming from. So in the early 2000s-ish, you know, Idris Abdul Karim described himself as the best in Africa. And apparently you'd be watching and you were wondering, what's going on here? So you came out, and that's the watchdog role that you said you played. Part 1, he replied and said, Percy with this elder, something like that. You know, there was a lot of back and forth. And that was really good to see then. particularly because a lot of people had maybe shared that opinion, but they didn't have a voice. They couldn't rhyme well. So you came, hit that, and both of you were really speaking to the ills of a society. Idris did Mr. Lecturer, and that resonated with a lot of people. Jaga Jaga. You came out, you did a lot of things, and that was the height for it. So imagine listening to music, and it's conscious music. You're listening to your headphones. It's not just the usual you're listening to. We've seen Idris come back. And he's done a song. A lot of people said, no, he's dissing his elders in that music. But a lot of people resonated with it because it's
because of what he was saying.
Because of what he was saying, they could relate. That is a reality for Nigerians. I don't know if you align with him on that angle. If it's even a music you want to,
how is life for you in Nigeria now?
So is it a music you want to feature on?
Yeah, I would. Because 2021, I also released a body of work called Situation. And that is a body of work of 5 tracks, conscious music, talking about the situation of the country. You understand? You know, and anybody who doesn't resonate with what he's saying is probably benefiting from either corruption and or whatnot. Because right now, Nigeria is not. We are feeling it, my brother.
Absolutely. So why don't we have Wizkid, Davido? Imagine a song like that, Burna Boy,
from the likes of
techno. Coming together. I mean, you saw We Are the World, how Michael Jackson brought everybody, and that song, decades after, is still transforming the world. Would it be tough to bring them together to do something, conscious music for the nation?
It's something they need to decide to do. You can't force them. If it's not how they are, the kind of people they are, they won't. You understand? Nobody told Idris to do it. Nobody told me to do it. Even when Ricardo Banks did Uzumbamba the way, nobody told him to do it. He just did it. You understand? Like she said, she thanked me for using my star power to speak, to help people. So the rest can do it. Nobody told me to do it. I just do it because that's the kind of person I am. You understand? So the banners and even Banner did the beasts the monsters we create kind of thing. So he has his own, kind of conscious, but not as hard-hitting as direct as Idris or I did. But for them to take that step is something they have to decide to do.
Well, you've been very vocal about situations in Nigeria or things affecting society. So if you were to sing a song now about Nigeria, or take a rap or something about the current situation, what would be the focus? What is more important to you at the moment? What is happening at the moment for you?
Basically, it'll be just do something to make life better for Nigerians, really. It's not all about policies and talks and things like that. It has to be, I will not lie, it's not even about trying to fix one road or the other, because even if you're fixing the road, who has money to buy a car? Who has money to buy the fuel? You understand? And nothing is really happening. Nothing is really working. A lot of businesses are packing up. And all you're a woman. I'm not saying you're a woman because of what I'm going to say before you now attack me.
You just stepped into the pot.
Yes, because I was about to say, have you been to the market lately to buy stuff? You understand? Do you know how much everything is right now? You understand? So, and one particular thing I'm going to pick on is the fact that with every new government that comes in, life gets harder for Nigerians. Why is that?
Well, let's speak so quickly for... All right, but I think before we go, just maybe you give us a line of that love song, because it's in your new EP. And what you hope to achieve with that EP right now, quickly before.
Okay, quickly, I'll just say, look, they say use every opportunity. So the Michael Stevens Experiment EP is out on all platforms. Go stream it. Yeah. So, it has to do with, it's called Found Love. And a lot of radio stations seem to be playing that instead of rap tracks. But basically, my former artist wrote it back then, recorded it, but we never released it. So I just thought, okay, it starts with, girl, you smile just like the sun. Baby, you're my number one. You're my one and only. As the moon brightens the night, girl, you did brighten up my life, yo. Then I did go look for you. Inside my heart, my baby, now you. And if I don't get money, I go borrow for you. Anything for you, my queen. Let me be your king.
Gangsta, I finally falling in love. Where's your steez? Where's your steez? Your steez
At least I've turned a lot of influencers and actors and actresses into rappers. These are songs that are going to be dropping very soon. Mr. Macaroni, Jide, Kene, Yabo, Joe. You're going to hear all of them on some tracks that I'm dropping really soon.
Okay, we hope to hear that and everyone stream that EP live. Thank you very much, Michael Ugochukwu Stevens, Ruggedman.
Thank you.
Like I say, Rugged.
Thank you.
Okay, I guess we gotta go. Thank you very much.
I want to stay.
Maybe I want to hear more of that love song. I mean, it's very different from what Ruggedman does. But thank you very much, everyone, for tuning in and staying with us all through the morning brief today. We'll definitely see you again tomorrow. I'm Anne Nwawadu.
Yeah, thank you so much for watching. We will be back again tomorrow. I am Bukola Koka.
You may not be a rapper, singer, but you can do your bit to fix our nation, just like Ruggedman and others are doing. Sunrise Daily is next, so we have a big morning for you right here on Channels Television. I'm Kayode Okikulu. Goodbye.